What I've added, again, it's some links here to the tools we're going to talk about, particularly OneNote and Jamboard, so that's Office 365 and G Suite, both available free through Glow, depending on your local authority which suite you'll have. Everyone has Office 365, some authorities have chosen not to use G Suite. Mathsbot and Toy Theatre are the only two sites I'm going to link to for the fact that they're free, they don't require any passwords, and again, thinking about how accessible the learning is, I'm sticking to two tools within Glow, so all my learners have to be able to do is log into Glow, and I know that can be challenging for some younger learners or learners with particular needs, but for most learners, they're hopefully able to log into Glow, they can access those tools for free. Mathsbot and Toy Theatre, although they're external, they don't require any logins, again, I can only imagine if you're asking, I want you to do this site or this quiz or this maths game, and it requires a login, and that's another login you need to know. And so we've tried to eliminate that in these examples, and we hope that there's enough there for you to challenge and support your learners. Again, I've put links on this page to all the videos that we've already created talking about these tools for numeracy and maths, from strategies to how the tool itself actually works. So hopefully that'll come in handy. So yep, Jacqueline's right, we'd like to get on with the challenge, and hopefully what you'll see is this page here. I can see people are filtering in just now. So all we wanted to ask you is sort of starter activity you might ask from your learners, but what can they tell you about the number 37? So if you were in our class, you can pop your answers either into the chat here on Teams or onto the Jamboard, and with the Jamboard you can write. If you've got a touchscreen device, you can use the pen, you've got post-its, and you can use the text box as well. So what do you know about the number 37, and we'll see what answers come in. And don't worry, you're all anonymous, so we don't know, apart from Anonymous Buffalo, we don't know who that is. So don't worry about getting anything wrong.
Yeah, and feel free to try the different tools if you want as well.
And Miss McDowell pops some into the chat, so it's 3 less than 40, or it's 3 times 11 add 4. So again, good to see that different part there, I guess, about making it more challenging for ourselves with multiple steps in that. 3 tens, 7 ones. Someone's put 3 tens and 7 units, so that might lead to a bit of discussion, a bit of debate amongst our learners. And the beauty I'm hoping that you're seeing with this, whether you've used this tool or not, it's one of my favourites. Learners can collaborate on that, so you're all able to access the same board, and there that might be enough to, I suppose, get your learners to have a chat about why one said it's 3 tens and 7 ones, and someone said it's 3 tens and 7 units. Someone said it's a prime number, so what's a prime number? We could ask about that. I'm just waiting to see, I don't know if someone's just experiment with the pen or if they're drawn as a pictorial representation of 37.
I like it, it's good. It shows the experimentation.
So I'm wondering then, Jack, if you've got that in your classroom, I mean, how easy is that to ask questions or prompt, challenge or depth with those? Or?
Yeah, so I mean, this is the kind of activity that you would probably start one of your lessons off. It would be that kind of started activity, open up the conversation. It's quite differentiated as well because learners can access that in different ways. I mean, you can see even here we've got kind of more simple answers to start to get a bit more complex. And again, this activity can also be adapted, so it can be at early level. What do you know about the number 3? What do you know about the number 9? And you can extend that right up into first, second, third, fourth. What can you tell me about the negative 4? All sorts of things like that. So there's lots you can do with this, and I think that's something you would do in the class. And what we're trying to kind of say is, well, you can still do that in this situation that we're in if you were delivering live lessons. Obviously, if it's not a live lesson, it's a bit, this is a live process. But George, can you actually leave that open as well so that later on, say you're not in front of them, that they can add to that as well? Because did you say something about they can have different pages as well?
Yeah, I'm just going to put a wee note here as we go. Can you tell me more? So it's finishing my feedback there. Yeah, we can leave.
What else do you know?
Yeah. We can keep those pages going, and we can come back. We can revisit. We've got some other examples. And one of the ones. So I've got this just the way that I'm using Jamboard here. When I'm sharing this, I've got some options. So when I press the share button, I go to get link. I can make it, now for me to make anyone able to access it, I think this is something to consider perhaps for younger learners who, I think the recent equity report says they've been perhaps most disadvantaged from online learning. And one of the challenges is passwords and usernames. Now if I set this up as the teacher, bearing in mind some of the challenges or some of the things that might happen when you've got an anonymous link here. So again, thinking about how well you know your learners and trying to think about what happens when they're anonymous. So I can share this with anyone. Now mine's is either restricted, where no one can see it, it's private. Education Scotland is effectively my local authority. So yours should be set by default to yours. So if you're in Glasgow, it'd say Glasgow City Council there, and anyone with a link. So if I make it anyone with a link, it means anyone at all who has that link can access it. Now, it's not searchable by Google or anything, so you would have to share that link for them to access it. So you have some control with that, but things to bear in mind. And I've set it to editor, it's automatically set to viewer. So again, you could do some worked examples and share that, showing how you've done these different strategies on the different slides. And again, learners and families could go through your worked examples, and that might be an alternative to making videos, which we know some people have found can be challenging, again, depending on your access to software and devices. So editor allows, and I just copy the link, and that means anyone who accesses it, like you, can all write in the same board. Now, what I could do is I could put a name for each learner on each sheet, and all I need to do to make a new sheet is up at the top here. That wee link copied can go away. There's just a wee option here. All I need to do is press right, and it automatically adds in a new slide. And those have got stuff, I've obviously made them already, but each time I press that, it'll add a new slide if I've made a new one. I can also press the tiles here, and I can add ones in between. So I can add a slide in between these two if I'd like. So I can add slides in wherever I like. So that's really useful as well. So I could make one for each learner. I could put their name on it. But again, there's challenges. It means that I could access Jacqueline's sheet. So just thinking about how it's not private if you share it anonymously, and anyone can access it. But you could use that to, I say, either for learners who can't access with passwords, they could access this from your, say, your class blog. But you can use that for everybody in the class to come together and share their thinking. So I might have never thought that it's half a 74. So again, allowing me to collaborate with my peers like that WEF research says. So I could, again, one of the good practices with this we do is tick the ones that you agree with, or tick the ones that you got. And again, learners, it's quite nice again for others to see, oh look, I've got ticks in mine, so people think I've got a good answer there. What you can also do is you can share it, and I can show you that later if you like at the end. I don't want to spend too much time talking about the technical part, but if you create it as a, if you create an assignment in Google Classroom, you can share that link that you got. You can share this link from here, copy the link, and you can add that to your assignment, and you'll have the option in your classroom assignment to make a copy for each learner. So that's assuming that they're able to access Classroom, but you can you make one set of the slides, and then you assign a copy for every learner, and it does that automatically for you. So again, you can use that for assessment, because you know this is George's and I can see George's working, or this is Jacqueline's, I can see Jacqueline's working. The beauty as well for this for me is it's dead simple. All I've done is put some text on that. I can add images and things as well. I can copy a web link and put the URL and say watch this, copy this web link into your URL and find it. I could put a picture on and ask them to look at that. The beauty is I've just copied and pasted that text box each time, select it, copy, and all I do is go to another blank page and add it. But this time I might change it to, so I've actually taken a screen snip of that rather than text. But I could add, what do you know about 42, what do you know about 53, what do you know about 78? And again, you can see that level of all the different questions, all the different answers and points that people have put on there. And again, you could be capturing that for each learner. Here's one I made earlier. So again, about the depth that your learners take that to, and that will depend on the strategies that you've shown them and how much you challenge them to that. So rather than making a 30 question worksheet, I've asked one question, but my learners spent about half an hour adding as many different examples as they can think of. They've notated it, told me some facts about their dad. They've used the counting stick, used the Dean's blocks, and written some posts. So there's you know, even, I don't know if anybody will get the reference to there, if I'm right, is it rubidium, I think? It's the 37th element. So, I mean, I can put as much as I know, it's down to me as a learner how I want to represent that, and I can add as much as I like to that. So, again, you can ask them quite a simple question, but with the right challenge and support to that, you can have them, they can be at that for half an hour, for an hour, and again, you can give them the blank ones, and what do you know about the number? Let them pick a number, and again, away they go. So your learners could be at that for quite a long time, I think, if they're challenged to that. So what I would suggest, what I'd like to demonstrate as well with the examples I've put on those pictorial representations is, I don't know if you're familiar or not yet with the Mathsbot tool. So again, it's free. Go to mathsbot.com. I've got the manipulatives here, and I've put a video how to do this on the slides. But what I can use is, let's say if I take coins for example, and all I've done is I'm dragging them on, so it'll work for just about any device, mobile, desktop, laptop, and because I'm using my desktop just now, all I'm using is the snipping tool. I'm sorry, not my desktop, my laptop. So I've got snipping tool built into Windows, and what I can do is take a wee snip of that by drawing a box, and I don't even need to save it. Now I could save it, but I don't even need to. I can copy that and I can paste it in, and I can do that with any image at all. So there's my pictorial representation. So we can get away from just the post-its, we can draw, we can insert images, and what you can do is, if they've got a mobile device and maybe accessing Mathsbot's a wee bit tricky, on say like a small mobile screen, that might be a wee bit harder. What they can actually, if they're using their mobile device, they could still be writing on paper, or they could be drawing their calculations in a sandbox, or they could be counting sticks to make a graph in the garden, and then they can either take the photograph on the mobile device and access it from their device, so you can use upload. Or what's really nice about Jamboard is it's got mobile in mind, and it's telling me I've got no kicks, I'm using my webcam just now, but if that was my mobile phone, I can actually just take a picture from my phone directly into Jamboard, and OneNote lets you do the same. So again, learners could be capturing all kinds of images and demonstrating their work and their thinking in their environment and posting all those answers in here. So what you would hopefully end up with is your learner has produced something like this with even some photographs as well.
George, can you go back to Mathsbot and click on the Tools section just so I can show something quickly? And then it's number lines. A lot of this is aimed at secondary pupils, but there's some really good things in here. So it's the number line just on the left there, right there, sorry. And you can adjust this. So you can see this one has negative numbers, but you can begin at 0, you can begin at 10, you can begin at whatever you want, and then and decide what the partitions are. You can convert it to decimals, you can convert it to fractions. There's all sorts of things you can do with that, and then using that snipping tool that George was showing you there, you can just snip it and put it on, and actually that there with nothing on it, if you take away the values and having blank empty number lines as well can also be useful, because then they can annotate them on the screen as well.
And yep, and it's just as Jacqueline's saying there, so I can snip that, copy, and I can paste that, and I'll go into a new page just for a wee bit of clarity. And then, as you say, you've got exactly as you would have in the classroom. You'd be able to write on that and draw on it with it. Again, depending on if it's a touch screen, it's a lot easier. I'm going to use my mouse for that, so again, it's a wee bit harder to maybe show the control with the mouse, but you could be showing your jumps between the numbers there. So again, Jamboard let you should do all of that. I'm going to come back and check the questions, see if there's anything here. So some answers in there. Jacqueline's just asked some different questions about how we could do that. What I'd ask then, and we've just put in the worked examples, so you can have a look at those worked examples that I've already presented. And again, as I say, dead easy to duplicate those pages over and over. And that again makes almost like a workbook with very little time. It's just copy and paste over things that we might already have. For the next activity, what we'd like to ask you then is, what if we were talking about addition and it was 37 plus 22? And there's some different points there that Jacqueline's put in for us about estimation, explaining how you did it, and thinking of alternative strategies. So if we can ask you again, just on the Jamboard, if we just go to the second page, the one I've got here, just move on to page 2, and if there are any, again, if you could, we could, in fact, so I'm just going to move you, if you go to page 6, so if you just flick through until you get to page 6, you'll see it's 37 plus 22, and if you can put, how would you solve that then? So what strategies would you use, whether you want to go and use some Mathsbot, or whether you want to use just writing on the page or using a post-it note, or again popping it into the chat. So any ideas about how you would solve that, or explaining your process to that, and we'll just give you a wee moment to put some examples on that board for us.
George, I've just been sent a link to some new maths resources hot off the press, so just at the very end, can you remind me to share that with the group? They'll be the first group to see them.
Absolutely, yep, we'll share that.
Just come in this minute.
Super. How's that for value? Now, while some people just put some examples on or into the chat, what I'd also like to point out is I'm using Jamboard. I like it. I think it's quite crisp and clean. You've got your options on the left hand side, and it lets you do a range of tools there. We could also do the same. I've got an example here. You can see we place value using OneNote and Microsoft Office 365, and again it works very much the same. So if I open up this notebook, you can see I can, if I pick on the page here, I can insert images. So again, I can pick pictures from my device or use my device's camera to upload pictures. So again, I could be doing my working, I could be playing with, legumes. I've got my chickpeas, my lentils, counting out some place value. Or I could be using the Dean's blocks from the Mathsbot, which I've done here. And again, I'm able to ink on the page. So I can write on the page here using the draw tools. So again, whether my mouse skills are up to it or I've got a touchscreen device, which again particularly suitable for mobile, but I can add my numbers onto the page there. Also, one of the ones that for me, it's an extra bit about OneNote that Jamboard unfortunately doesn't have yet. It'd be great to see it added, but I can record audio straight into my OneNote. What I did here was I used the Dean's blocks and I got a 10, and then I put 8 units together, so that made 10 plus 8 was 18, and that's how I've represented it. But I've also shown you in the box here as well, I've put 18 ones. So I did it with a 10 and I've did it with ones as well. And I can explain my understanding. So for the teacher to look at this page and say, how has George answered this? They can listen to that recording, and going the other way as well, you can leave that verbal recording for your learners. So you could be, if I just go back to my option box here, I can go in as the teacher once that finishes processing, and I can leave feedback. And let's say this is Jacqueline's learning, I can leave feedback and say it's really good that you've shown 2 different pictorial representations, but could you use a different tool next time? Could you use the same tool twice? And again, that's giving that feedback. I can do that as soon as my learner submitted that, and again they're able, they can listen to it, so there's no more what did I tell you last week. You can now ask them what did I tell you last week, and they can actually go back and listen to what you told them last week. And I think that's really, really powerful in terms of assessment. Again, I can annotate it as the teacher, so I could say, oh, if this wasn't right, should this be here? Is this the correct numbers? And I could attach again a voice note, or I can type to it. Also, because it's part of the Office 365 suite, which is my toolback, what I'm also able to do is, if I just select a new text box, so anywhere on the page that isn't this image I've uploaded, so if I select here and go along, you can hopefully see this on your screen just now, the wee dictate button. This is my numeracy learning for the 27th of January. Full stop. new line. What I've done is I've used the Dean's blocks to show how I counted that number. I used a 10 and then I used ones to make 18. Full stop. Full stop. There we go, it's like elevator 11, isn't it? But it got me in the second time there, so it's pretty accurate. You can see there, I can talk to OneNote and it will type for me. So whether you need them to write an explanation or you want them to just speak the explanation in a voice recording, they can draw their explanation, they can type their explanation, they can take a picture of their explanation. There's just about any way that they can possibly feed back to you. And again, all I've done is I've drawn those wee simple boxes in PowerPoint, used that snipping tool, and I've just copied and pasted in about a dozen of them. So again, my learner can work through that, but this time I want them to pick their own numbers and then show me how they split it into tens and ones, not units. But I did that before I had a look at the PLR paper. Here, again, they could add on to it and say, I think there's actually another bit called hundreds here, and they can edit that again because they've got those tools. You see if we get, well, that's great. Come in, loads of brilliant examples there. I've just flicked back to that and we can see, I don't know, Jacqueline, any thoughts or any feedback on some of those strategies or how people have done it? What would you be saying if you were the teacher?
Yeah, no, I think you would be celebrating the different approaches and asking them to expand on that. And I think and these are things that you all do naturally in the classroom anyway. So just continue that onto the online. And actually, in some ways, it's better continuity for the learners because it's the same approaches that they would be used to using probably in the classroom anyway. But no, I think it's good to see that variety of strategies. I can see somebody's used the number line. I always like the number line. My daughter this week has been calculating durations, and I showed her a time number line and how to use an empty number line, and she was like, oh, well, that's so much easier, and it kind of almost blew her mind. And I thought, brilliant, it's something just so simple but so effective. And I like the kind of it's not exactly a bar model, but set the similar approach to the bar model. You could also use the so within here we've got the partitioning, we've got some rounding, there's lots of different approaches, but it's important to have that discussion about them. And in the comments here we've got about needing time to play with it, and that is the key. And if you think back to when we were learning about PowerPoint years ago, you could attend all the sessions that you wanted, but really you just needed time to sit and play about with it and see how it was going to work for you. And that is the key. And I think with everything, and George will probably agree, is start small, start with something just really simple, whether it's just they type, you put the Jamboard up and they type their names in or something, just something really, really simple before you then go on to maybe the more complicated stuff. And I think, if this is all new to you, that would help you out a wee bit.
Absolutely. What I'll show you is, if I just add in a new page here, one of the ones that I saw this at a Google Trainer course that I thought it's a great one, I'm using that. They called it, I think, was Clouds and Anchors, but you can call it whatever you like. And the idea being using the post-its, so positives go in blue, they're the clouds, and you can have your, I keep selecting the wrong button there, it's the post-it I want, and negatives. So again, colour coding thing, I've done this for, I always feel a bit cheeky mentioning it in numeracy sessions, but we did a session similar with my literacy colleagues, and we talked about note making, and we used this exact same tool to do some note making. And you can even, give me 1 second, somebody's playing with a drill. What happens on webinars, somebody's playing with a drill outside. So you can colour code where you want things to go. So again, this one's, let's say about, you could do a model of the example. So if I do, and I'm going to do this one, just hopefully it gets a response. So this strategy to do that calculation, what are the positives to it? What are the negatives to doing it that way? And again, as Jacqueline's, so again, dead easy to have a discussion. All they have to do is put the post-it note on, colour code it, or you could even do that for a picture of pizza. What do we like about pizza? What do we not like about pizza? I don't think there'll be many negatives, but so again, you can pick absolutely anything in the world there, and I think that's why I like that tool so much. It's so flexible, and you could have discussions using it. Or again, as I said, you can have each individual learner having their own page. There's everything I know about the number 37. And again, if it's for calculations, you can ask them what so I put on as the teacher, what would happen if I had another 22 pence? There's Jacqueline's example. she's used the coins to represent it. Pardon me, done it with the 10 squares, are they called? Is that the right name?
10 frames.
10 frames, sorry. And then again, I can annotate on top of that as well, so I can use text, I can use the pen, and I can show my thinking. And again, I've done it 2 different ways there. Then again, using the blocks, and again showing how I'm partitioning it into I'm counting up the 10s and then I'm counting up the 1s. I'm breaking that number up and splitting up, just scribbling onto the page. But however your learner accesses that could be a piece of paper or a whiteboard, and they've just photographed that and added it in as well. Again, using the number line, so lots of different strategies I've tried to cover, and that could be, if you've covered those with your learner and you're saying, I want 6 different strategies to answer that calculation. An alternative is, Jacqueline shared that with me, you could have the sort of 4 places, that kind of like, you might have a placemat like that in your class, a whiteboard, and they would write the calculation, then do the concrete, pictorial, abstract, and write a word problem on it. Again, I've got that image already made, whether that's in Word or PowerPoint or something. Copy it, and I can paste it in, and again, there's my, hopefully paste across, it might not let me copy it from here. And again, if you're using your Windows device and it won't copy and paste, just screen snip it, copy, if I go to Jamboard, it should now hopefully copy that across, and there is my working board. That's what I want you to do, and I'm just going to copy this page, copy that in the next 4 pages. So show me how you do it on my wee frame there, and copy that over and over, but maybe leaving the number in the middle blank and the learner adds their own to that. Or again, what I did earlier, stick a post-it note on it, put some numbers on, and put a wee post-it note in the centre to cover that. So you can easily adapt and adjust that, but I think for me the big part is your learner being able to show it so many different ways, and again, you can mark that, you can write on that as the teacher and give them their feedback. You can actually put some pen on it or put a post-it note on it and explain your thinking. With OneNote, you can add your voice to it as well, so great for assessment as well. And I think that's just about coming to the end. I don't know if there's any questions or any thoughts about that. I suppose that's the models and the demonstrations we wanted to do. I'm happy to go through again if anybody missed anything about how I did that with taking the screenshot from here. Again, if you're using a mobile device, it might be having to take a screenshot of the pictorial representation you've put together, taking a screenshot and then uploading the screenshot to your OneNote or your Jamboard. So different ways of doing that on mobile from Windows or other devices. So thanks very much for joining us, and thanks very much if you're watching this on catch up via YouTube too. Thank you and take care.